Nobody is that hydrated, if you know what I'm saying, but today, we will try. So hello, I'm Zandy. I'm going to make a video about the Warframe damage types and status effects, put them in a tier list, and while I do that, I'm going to turn them into beverages, and then I'm going to drink those beverages. For the hydration part of the video, I've taken each of Warframe's basic damage types, like the elements and physical damage types. I've picked an ingredient for each of them. That means that you can then combine the basic elemental types into their combined elements, and I designed it so that those are drinks. So for example, the Toxin and electricity ingredients, if you combine them together, that's corrosive, and there is a drink that's a coherent, mostly good drink that is corrosive, and that works for all the other combinations. For the physical damage types, you can't pick those normally, so I chose ingredients that taste good with all of them. So you can just pick any or all of the physical damage type ingredients and add them to any of the single or combined element drinks. And of course, I allowed myself sugar as a wild card, so I'm allowed to put like a sweetener syrup in the drinks to make them actually taste good. A lot of them, the acid balance will change, so anyway, you want sugar to not be one of them. And obviously water is a freebie, right? I also made an effort to choose cheap and accessible ingredients that you can just go to your grocery store and pick up. So if you want to try this yourself, my goal wasn't to show you a bunch of complex drinks. I'm not and do not wish to be a cocktail YouTuber. As much as I enjoy those, I like making builds, usually in games, and this is like that. It's meant to be a set of synergistic pieces that you can use to make your own fun personal playstyle, or in this case, beverage. Just like I do when I make builds in Warframe and other games. As for the tier list part, I'm going to rank them from general to specific, so you could view the general ones as better, but a lot of the specific ones are much more powerful, just only in a very, very specific case. I just feel like in Warframe it doesn't make sense to call them better or worse, because they're just not. It depends on the situation, but there definitely are elements and damage types that are more or less general specific, and I will also rank them in kind of order from left to right. So the further right they are, the kind of worse I think they are within the category, because that does have some meaning as well. But anyway, general to specific. With that, let us begin our adventure. I'm going to start with electricity. This is an element that I think is mostly defined by its status effect, doing area of effect damage around the enemy you hit. You get a little stun too. The thing about electricity is you do that in a very compact way. Gas also makes your weapon do damage in an area, but it does it with two and different elements. One of those elements is Toxin, the other one is heat. Those are both very useful elements for other things. Electricity, meanwhile, you get it in one, and you know, you might not have been using electricity for as much else. You can build electricity into corrosive. Electricity with viral is good, although I do think that competes with heat. And basically vanilla electricity on a weapon is just not often going to be that bad. So I think it's a bit general to general. I think I'm going to have to see where the other ones fall to put that somewhere more exact. But I feel like it's on the general side. Electricity is not very niche, at least when it's good. But again, it may compare to other elements, and it'll be clear that it makes more sense relative to the other elements for it to be a bit more specific. So we'll see. I'm going to leave it here for now, and we'll see if it has to be moved. As for the beverage ingredient for electricity, well, it's got to be acid, right? So I chose lemon juice. Specifically, you saw at the beginning of the video that this is not my own urine. It is, in fact, lemon super juice. Super juice is just extracting the oils from the peels of your fruit using acid, powdered acid, in this case citric acid, the acid that is already predominantly the flavor of lemons. In fact, a lot of citric acid is labeled as being lemon flavored. You then dilute that extracted oily acid with water, and that is the same amount of acid-ish as your lemon juice. You add your lemon juice, and you have super juice, a punchier, brighter, longer lasting, much higher yield. This is about 3 times the yield. I juiced 5 lemons, which was way too much. Do like 1 or 2. And it's more work. It's not that much more work, so I highly recommend it. And again, it's easy to do. You can buy citric acid at your local grocery store. I didn't choose something like lime because that would also include malic acid, which I don't think you can find at your local grocery store. So let's try it. Yep. Whew. Wow. It's so refreshing. I don't know how to describe the difference, and it's not huge, okay? You can definitely use lemon juice and lemon super juice interchangeably, but it does have that little X factor. It is a little bit brighter in some way. I also have already noticed, I made this about 2 days ago, it really has kept beautifully. It's like you just juiced the lemon. It's unbelievable how fresh it is because of some chemistry stuff with the succinic acid in the fruit, which of course you're not adding more of. There's less of that per volume. Anyway, you can go look up lots of videos about exactly how to do that, but it's pretty straightforward. And you can just juice the lemon if you don't want to, but I do recommend it. So electricity, I put it in a bit general for now, and the drink ingredient is lemon super juice. Next up, I'd like to do Toxin. I think Toxin is fairly specific. The problems with Toxin are mostly just its competition. Relative to other elements, it's not that what Toxin is doing is bad, it's just that you could have that but piercing armor with slash, or you could have that but also removing some of enemy armor and accumulating more with heat. Toxin is a very simple and in some ways kind of outdated status effect at the moment. Toxin's damage boosts are really good though. They are specific, that's definitely specific, but Toxin damage pierces shields entirely, so you can kill Corpus enemies if you want to build, especially to kill Corpus enemies, in a pretty effective way. So I feel like, I don't know about most specific, I mean all Corpus, but how often I feel like that's worth doing is maybe more specific, and Toxin is also made a little more specific by not being so general. If you built Toxin weapons to be good against Corpus, you'd be losing a lot of damage against everywhere else. There are more niche elements that don't have that problem, so I feel like that makes it a bit more specific. I'm going to leave it here for now. And the ingredient for Toxin, well, it's got to be alcohol. It's the spirit. Now, a lot of the drinks in this video will not be alcoholic, and I really implore you to drink responsibly. I highly recommend making a drink with a lot of effort, really put some stuff into it, and have one really good drink instead of a bunch of crap. So for this video, I chose brandy. I chose brandy, and I wish not to show you the brands in particular, but if you buy a lot of brandy in the States, it might be easy. I chose brandy because it's relatively inexpensive to get something that I think is pretty good. You could use whiskey, for example, but I don't like any whiskeys that don't cost 3 times as much as that. Whereas this isn't bottom of the barrel brandy, but it's not that expensive, and I like how it tastes. You would want to make sure that this ingredient is matched with your acid. So I chose lemon juice, so brandy, to pair with that. And if you picked whiskey, lemon, that's fine. You could do lime as well, but there are some spirits, like if you did rum or tequila, that sounds great, but you'd want to do lime juice, and then you remember before I didn't want to recommend lime juice to you because the super juice takes malic acid, and I wanted to recommend the super juice, so you decide for yourself, but that's why I chose this. It's cheap to get something, I think, fairly crowd-pleasery, drinkable, but still with a lot of flavor. It's not that it's subtle, it's just kind of mellow. Let's try it. Yeah, so it's a 40% alcohol by volume spirit, and it's not on ice. So when you drink it, a lot of the ethanol vaporizes on your tongue and makes it harder to taste, a little bracing. Sure. That being said, you still get a pretty strong vanilla. There's some wood in there. I'm not very experienced at tasting these, and again, having it be at room temperature, that's not very good for tasting spirits in some ways, especially if you're a novice. It has its advantages, but there are some problems, like vaporizing ethanol. But yeah, it's pretty good. It's very mellow. It doesn't have a strong attack. I wanted to have my stronger ingredients not be too punchy, so as to allow the other ingredients that wouldn't normally be as loud to also take part. I wanted well-rounded drinks where I could really taste each of the ingredients for this. So yeah, I chose brandy, and I'm putting Toxin in kind of specific. Let's do heat. I think heat is quite general. This is a very powerful element in a lot of ways in particular. I think what's working in heat's favor, maybe here, is that it's good at a lot of things. So it's good at reducing armor. It's compact. You can have your viral, and then just adding heat, suddenly you remove a lot of enemy armor. So not that corrosive doesn't have its advantages, but heat is a very compact way to do that. And again, you're using different and less elements to do it in a different way. which is very nice. You can also stack up a lot of heat, and with some weapons that you'll accumulate enough, the damage over time doesn't reset with each one, so it snowballs. And that can be very powerful on the right weapon. I guess that's a pretty niche benefit, though. My experience is that's not good on a lot of weapons. Maybe just general, but I do think that heat is a very powerful, at the moment, kind of meta-defining element. So I'm going to put it in general. I think if you compare it to electricity, it's got to be above that. So maybe they should both move down, but I'm going to leave it here for now. Heat, well, spicy. So I chose, again, I didn't choose things that I think are the best way to do it. I chose the thing I thought was the easiest for you that gets the job done. It's cayenne. I mean, it's just cayenne. So I'm just going to have some cayenne. And because let's do it at the end, because I'm going to have to stop the take to drink some water afterward. I have pretty good spice tolerance. It's a powder, so it's not going to feel great. There are a lot of ways you could add spiciness to your drinks. I do think that just shaking them, agitating them with some cayenne is fine. That will work just fine. In a lot of cases, something like making the drink and then leaving it with chili flakes in it or something for a day, that's good, and then you strain them out. That would be fine. That's a lot more work, right? I did that for a few of these, but I don't know. I thought maybe you wouldn't be so into it. So yeah, just some cayenne. Again, I'll just kind of put a little on my finger. Yep, I mean, it's not pleasant to, eat just the dry spice. My tolerance to heat is a little high, so it's not the end of the world, but it's not a good feeling. I kind of describe it as fruity or savory. Depending on your spice tolerance, you would want to adjust this a lot so you can actually taste it, or maybe use something less spicy. But I would recommend, when I say, some spicy powder, or heat is my spice element, I'm talking about a fiery, fruity spice, not the more vegetal end of the spicy spectrum. Not that I don't like that. I just think it's a less welcome addition here. Cold. Cold is really good against shields, like the damage type is good. It's well-rounded, good bonus against alloy, and a good bonus against shields. And then the status effect slowing. This can be very powerful in combination with a lot of control abilities. Other slows, it can be good. It's also nice because you can build corrosive and then add a little bit of cold. Corrosive, removes all armor, but it does the good damage to ferrite, and cold does good damage to alloy and shields. So that's a nice pairing. Overall, I feel like cold is a really nice element to have by default. You can build it into viral and then do the heat thing, although that does mean you need to build on cold and toxin. But yeah, it's not often going to be bad. It just might not always save you as much time. Maybe that means toxin should be bumped up, because if toxin is the default element on the weapon, that should only bump it up a little, right? Yeah, but that is pretty good if the weapon is default toxin, so I'll move that up a little. I think the combined elements are going to be more extreme anyway, but I'm going to say I feel like cold is a bit general. I think knocking it is that I wouldn't actually choose to add cold to my weapons that often. I don't know, but it is often beneficial and not very often not, which is, I guess, kind of what this means. For cold as a drink, I chose, again, another one where you could do this. There's a more obvious thing to choose. I don't necessarily think it's better or easier. I chose peppermint extract. So the reason I chose this is because if you use mint, you need to use a lot of mint. And I think if you don't muddle it or use some like pressure infusion or various techniques to really get the mintiness out of your mint, it really doesn't taste that much like mint. I think that it's easier for most of you, probably, to use peppermint extract. There's also some things you can do because it's oil. Peppermint is an oil. This is in sunflower oil as well, not alcohol. It's all oil. There are some easy things you can do with that to infuse it in some of the things we're going to use, but a lot of the time you can just put a little in and shake it. Put a little water in this. You can barely even see it's in there. Yeah, it tastes... Do I need to give you tasting notes for peppermint? Let's move on. Cold, I don't know, I think it's a little bit general, and my ingredient is peppermint extract. The physical types, starting with slash. You know slash has got to go up here, or at least high up. Obviously very, very broad damage coverage, many of the benefits of Toxin while still piercing armor. If you view Toxin as being specific because it pierces shields, I view Slash as general, even though you're just piercing armor, which would seem equally specific, because armor is a much more powerful defense than shields. A lot of the time, if you build all your weapons to be good against armored enemies, and then you just kill and fight shielded enemies of the same level, I have not found in my many, many hours playing Warframe that you will care at all about enemies that are not armored. In the grand scheme of things. So I think that Slash is extremely general. It is hardly ever bad for a lot of Slash to be on a weapon because of the status, and there are hardly any good weapons in Warframe that don't do at least a little bit of status chance. I think also Hunter Munitions gets credit here. You know, even the weapons that don't have a lot of status, you're getting a lot of crit. You can just do Slash with Hunter Munitions, and that's one of the best things about the weapons with a lot of crit chance. So I feel like Slash should go up here. Again, maybe based on where other elements go later, we could move it around, but certainly relative to these, I'm happy about Slash more of the time, whereas I'm more happy about Toxin when it is good, which is what the scale is supposed to be for. Slash. So the ingredients for the physical damage types, I mentioned that these are meant to be more versatile. They're meant to be good with everything because, you know, you can't pick what physical damage types you have. So you can add any or all of these physical damage ingredients to any or all of the drinks. For the Slash, I chose ginger beer. Again, if you're used to shopping for ginger beer, maybe a brand you recognize just by the coloration, but I don't wish to specify the brands here. This is a nice ginger beer, but I didn't want something too overwhelming. Again, I really want the ingredients to get to show their stuff on their own. The stronger ingredients, I went for something a little bit more mellow. The weaker ingredients, I went for something a little stronger. In this case, the ginger beer, I do really like those extremely spicy ginger beers, but I went for something really good, really nice, maybe cracked out a little. It was not the cheapest, but not too fiery, even though I do normally like that. So a little bit of ginger beer. Yeah, and it's still got that ginger heat a little bit. I'm very interested to see this and the cayenne, or this and the peppermint. But it's not too sweet. I just don't like as much sugar in things, and it's also, again, not extremely punchy. It's still vibrant, tastes like a fresh, good ginger beer taste, but not a gigantic whack. Anyway, so ginger beer for Slash. I just think that of all the things in this list, if you were going to have one damage type, one status effect, one drink ingredient by itself, it's Slash. Puncture. One where I'm going to talk more about the damage type bonuses. Puncture is great against both types of armor. So this is a really nice innate element to see, but it isn't really doing a lot with its status. It just reduces enemy damage, and as you stack it up, you reduce more, but a lot of the time in Warframe, enemies are just dead before then, or you could have done another status effect that would not reduce their damage, but would kill them faster, which reduces their damage. Dead enemies do 0 damage. When you kill an enemy, you reduce their damage by 100%. Okay. Nevertheless, I feel like it's not... Now remember, it is damage and status effects. It's whatever I feel like the element is useful for. And I don't feel like Puncture is specific. It's just not... It's just kind of meh, which I said I'm going to demonstrate that by putting them far to the right. So I would say it's kind of general. Like, it's good a lot of the time. Countering armor is good often, but it's not very, very good at it. Puncture's ingredient. This one is a little weird. I chose salt. It's just salt. Just salt. And why did I choose salt? I think salt is the pepper, if I have to say that, of the beverage world. Putting a little bit of salt, or you could dissolve it in water and make saline solution. You can easily go look up how to do that if you want to, what ratios people recommend. But you can just put salt in them. A lot of the time, if you're going to agitate the drink, which I am, you'll see in a bit, it's fine. You can just put the salt in. Yeah, it really does lighten up a lot of drinks. It brightens them. It takes some of the, you don't always think of it, but a bit of the bitterness, which citrus fruits do have, out of, lemon juice, let's say. Some drinks will already have a little salt in them. I think adding some, especially to spirits, it really doesn't hurt. Just a tiny bit, not very much. Do you really want me to do tasting notes for... Yeah, it's salt. All right. Puncture is salt. Does that make sense? Impact, the last of our physical damage types. Impact has, you know, it's fine. It has good damage against shields. It's not weak against armor. It could be said to be well-rounded. And then its status effect will stagger enemies and open them to mercies. I feel like this is pretty specific. I don't think that mercies are bad. I think mercies are extremely playstyle dependent. You really need to be using them. You need to be killing enemies when you are close to them. You need to have something your mercy mods are giving you that you actually want for it to be worth doing that every now and again. And I think the key here is that if we should just assume you're using the element effectively. So we'll say this damage type, you're using it to its fullest extent. Where is it then? It's still kind of specific. You wouldn't want to just go around doing mercies every time, just like finishers. That would be slow in a horde shooter. So I think specific. Is it most specific though? I don't know. I feel like this is good a decent amount of the time if you were playing to its strengths. I wish they would make mercies more friendly, like you get time after the enemy dies to do it for like a few seconds. But anyway, yeah, I think pretty specific, but it's good when it's good. Again, specific doesn't mean bad here. It means specific. Speaking of specific, oh baby, do I have something specific. The only brand I'm going to mention, Angostura Bitters. This is so popular, I don't think it even matters, but not sponsored or anything. I just really like this. You should be able to find this at a lot of grocery stores, believe it or not, but literally every liquor store, most places in the world. Angostura Bitters is it's a blend of a lot of things. I don't know what they are. It's a secret. I would describe it as, let's try before I have some. Cinnamon. It is bitter, but it's not a very aggressive bitter. It's not a very punchy, snappy, hit you in the face bitter. It's weird, but kind of mellow bitter. It's very bitter, but savory, weirdly savory like a root a little bit. I don't know. Yeah, I would almost say a little bit sweet even. But yeah, savory, cinnamon, bark. It almost has like a root beery, very bitter root beer flavor. Probably not selling it to you too much, but I absolutely love Angostura Bitters pieces. So after this video, I will direct you to the bonus after party video where I just drank a bunch of Angostura Bitters. For now, we can move on to the combined elemental drinks. By the way, no, we're not doing void damage. I'm sure somebody in the comments will comment and give us something good for void damage that can fit into all these drinks. But void damage does not count as a basic damage type in Warframe, nor as a combined element, so I have no business with it. How about corrosive? Let's do corrosive. And I think it should be pretty general, don't you think? Corrosive is a very broad element because it does good damage against armor, it reduces both kinds of armor, and it's just a powerful straight up damage type. If you want to do damage without a lot of status, it's not a terrible choice. I do feel like corrosive has fallen a bit because of viral's effect on the other elements, so I don't want to put it at most general, but I think it's hard not to call corrosive quite generally useful, and this tier list isn't, well, I guess it is, but it's not meant to focus on how relatively good the elements are entirely. Corrosive is still really good. It's not automatically terrible just because much of the time I'd prefer to be using slash and viral. Sometimes I just can't, in which case I would often like to be using corrosive. So do I put it in front of or behind heat? I'm gonna say behind for now, but that's hard. Anyway, obviously fairly general. It only does actually good damage to armor and infested flesh, but infested, fossilized. But that's a lot of the enemies that you really want to kill in Warframe. That is a general benefit in Warframe. That's my argument. So for Corrosive's drinks, the way I did these, I have them lined up kind of pre-mixed. So I'll edit in here. This is what they all looked like. And the ratios for all of those are in the description. So if you want to see, how much of each thing I put in, we're not going to get into that for every single one. That's just a waste of time. But if you want to make them, many of them are quite simple. And the way that I did it was by trying to use the same amount of ingredient every time. So for example, the corrosive drink is agave syrup, which you can actually still see there on the bottom because I get to add sweetener. And then it's like 2 ounces of brandy, and I think I did 0.75 of lemon juice, and so about 1 part lemon juice. I've adjusted the ratios to be the taste I like, and I'll mark that in the description too. But the idea here is that now I can just add ice and maybe a little water, and then I can cap it, and then I can shake it, and then I can drink it. Give that a capping. And give it a shake. And because I'm using ice that was made with directionally frozen water, the impurities were pushed out of the ice when it froze. They were all at the bottom, unfrozen. I knocked that off and it's this clear ice. So this isn't diluting as much as it normally would, and I don't have to worry about filtering out small ice chips because there are none. Each of the cubes is evenly melting over time as it's shaken up, and because of this little mason jar guy, they're not, you know, shattering into a million pieces. Now, again, do I recommend that you use these little jars? No, this just makes it easier for me to film. But I have a shaker. I just like, why? It doesn't make sense for this purpose. And you don't need one. That's the point. Do I recommend one? Is there a purpose to shakers? Absolutely. Let's drink this drink. Corrosive. So again, this is the toxin element, the brandy, and the electricity element, the lemon super juice. And then I added, agave syrup to sweeten it a little. And it's great. I was looking forward to this one, of course. Some of them are not going to be good, some of the combined elements. It's great. It's a concentrated drink. It's not something light. It's a cocktail. It's a simple sour. When you have a margarita, that's basically this. When you have a daiquiri, that's basically this. It's just made with a different spirit of the same concentration and a different acid of the same concentration. And sometimes a different sweetener, but the bee's knees is basically this. A whiskey sour is basically this. This is a drink that if you've had a cocktail before, this may be called one of the simplest acid cocktails. Adding some water or soda or ginger beer to this little guy is absolutely delicious. I know from off camera, and we'll do that now. And give her a taste. And of course, I love adding, your Angostura, your saline, everything to this. But I'm not just going to sit here and enjoy beverages. I'm only kind of going to do that. Let's continue with the tier list. Corrosive is pretty general. And goodness, do I love this drink. Okay, really quick before we move on. I really like to put a little film of Angostura bitters on the top, and then when you give it a swirl, it forms this really nice gradient as it sinks down. Yeah. Right? And then you get a really nice... It sucks the water out of your mouth, And it's so satisfying to drink the non-bitters part after you get the satisfying but quite bracing, focused bitters taste. Anyway, okay, we'll keep going. I'd like to do magnetic next. Magnetic is a very, very niche. The problem with magnetic is that it's good against shields. It reduces shields, but there are already quite a few things you can do to bamboozle enemies relying on shields. This is definitely going in most specific, and remember, the focus of this tier list really isn't on the power of the elements exactly, because of the way I've laid it out, but I do think Puncture is, not great overall, and I feel that way about magnetic as well. When there are other most specific elements, and I'm sure there will be, they will be going down here in front of magnetic. Magnetic may be the least appropriate elemental status effect in Warframe. It's just weird in a game where there's an uncombined element that goes through shields to have a combined element that reduces shields. That's just, I don't know. I have thoughts about all these things, but that's another video. Magnetic, I'm putting it down here. I'm sorry, Magnetic. What I'm not sorry about is Magnetic's combined drink. So it's basically lemonade. We have electricity, our lemon super juice, and the cold is peppermint extract. Does putting mint in your lemonade sound good? It should, because it totally is. I'll mix that up. I mean, it's just lemonade with mint in it. Is that going to be bad? No. Is it going to smell amazing? Yeah. Kind of better than I expected, actually. The sensation, because you're getting so much concentrated citric acid, literally citric acid, but from the lemon juice, and then peppermint extract, which really triggers a peppermint candy thing in my brain, and then it's sweetened. It tastes kind of like you have a lemon drop and a peppermint candy in your mouth at the same time. When you think about orange juice and, minty toothpaste or whatever, it sounds terrible. Weirdly, I feel like this is amazing. It would be really good with mint leaves. If you put like mint, like leaf mint, spank the mint into your drink, that would be very nice. The kind of vegetal quality of the fresh mint would probably taste really good in here. This is still great. I do want to say can you see a little bit? There's this very small layer at the top that's the peppermint oil. So that is it not combining in perfectly. It's not pretty, but it works. I don't know. I don't care. So if that bothers you, just be aware. A nice refreshing glass of citrus forward lemonade with a real punch. The most refreshing lemonade I've had in this take. Not actually that long because I've had a lot of lemonade recently. I think we need to do viral now. It's going to be very boring. It's obviously up here. Viral is a damage multiplier for pretty much everything except shields. And we just kind of got done talking about how you can just bypass shields, or it's often more effective to build against armor. That's how I feel, at least, which makes viral incredibly general, the most general, too general, reductively general. It's not the best all the time, but it's very good very, very often. And I do think this placement is affected by slash. That being said, viral is maybe even more general because unlike slash, viral has a good damage bonus against flesh as well, so it can be more effective against, enemies that don't have their armor. And sometimes you can just remove their armor. Viral is still, slash is good, but viral is fantastic when you can do that. So really, really good. Obviously, viral, but it's really good. And it does affect a lot of the other elements rankings, so I feel like it's good to get it out of the way. The viral beverage. So it's Toxin and cold. Toxin is the brandy, and cold is the peppermint extract. I did something a little tricky here. I've made a brandy that is fat washed with the peppermint extract. You remember I mentioned before that the peppermint extract is all oil. Mine is sunflower oil and peppermint oil. It smells really good. I haven't tried this yet. So what you do is you put a little bit of peppermint extract into your brandy, and you're going to shake that up a little bit, let it settle, shake it up for a while, you'll get a better result, and then freeze it. That will solidify the oil. It might not look pretty. In fact, it looks pretty gross, but then you can filter it. Just filter it through a coffee filter or something while it's really cold, so the oil is solid, and you will get rather easily seemingly unchanged brandy that I don't understand the chemistry behind this, but has absorbed some of the flavor from the fat that you washed it in. So we'll try this. Should we try it neat or with ice? I'll do both. Whoa. Ooh. I don't know if I like that, but that's interesting. Ooh, it's weird. I'm going to put ice in it. I'll mix it up a little bit. And now it's cold. I'm going to try it again. Really quite different. It's kind of not bad though. I don't think that peppermint belongs in this brandy, but like a lot of whiskeys, this might taste good. It's refreshing. It's not as really jarring as you'd think it would be. It's not bad, yeah, but the mint is too strong. I think that's what it is. If you could, yeah, I would dilute it with brandy, but not during this video because we still got a few elements to cover. How about radiation? Radiation is a tough one. It's got a pretty unique effect. You can get enemies to attack each other, and that gives them more people to shoot that are not you, that's good. And the damage type bonus can be good. It's a ton of damage to alloy, so when you really want to kill that one bombard. Okay, and you can do radiation and viral. You often end up with radiation, or at least easy access to radiation. Those things feel kind of general. Are they more general than electricity and cold? No, I guess a bit specific, because when I would want to have my viral, let's say, and then combine radiation and make radiation, that's not as often. It's hard because it's also like I use radiation more than just Toxin, but I don't really build against specific factions very often. I don't often have cause to. So that's hard. Or what about Puncture? It's like, isn't Puncture a little more general? But radiation is a good status effect. That's hard. That's difficult. But a lot of the time it's got to be I'm doing radiation to a lot of enemies, and even then it's like puncture is innate and then radiation you have to build on. So I'm going to say a bit specific, but when you can spread radiation around a lot, this is a good status effect. It's just kind of weird. So yeah, a bit specific. I don't know about these. I guess it's less specific than impact. Radiation is good. I don't know. Anyway, the radiation drink is spicy lemonade. We have our acid ingredient, electricity, and then our heat ingredient, which is the cayenne pepper. So we have, it doesn't look very nice. You can see there's some like dirty looking lemonade that has cayenne pepper in it. Actually, ooh, can you see that on camera? You can. Yeah, look at that. So the cayenne pepper has formed a layer above the agave syrup, but below the lemonade. Yeah, that looks gross. Let's shake it up and drink it. The radiation lemonade. I really like spice in my lemonade, but I don't know about... Oh, yeah. This is too much. Oh, no, it's too much, but good. Oh, it's too hot. but it's good. It's hard because the acid, ow. Ooh, but it's tasty. The fiery flavor. Like maybe you should just put Tabasco sauce in this or something like that. It's kind of good. I kind of love it. I'm not going to drink the rest of this, but a version of this with a little hot sauce in it instead. Yeah. Or I said before that you could infuse the lemonade with chili flakes or something. Don't do very many because the extraction will probably be really good. You'll probably get a lot out of them, but I like this. Yeah. It adds a fiery flavor, kind of like, it's like drinking delicious beans and rice. That makes it sound so bad. I had that for breakfast this morning and it was really good. It hurts so good. Masochism the drink. Oh, radiation. Okay. It's spicy lemonade. It really is quite good. Like, I highly recommend this one. I haven't made much use of the modifier drinks. Don't worry, we're getting there. On that note, let's do Blast. Oh, Blast. Yeah, man, I don't know. I feel like this is terrible all of the time in the current state of the game. It's good against some robots and fossilized flesh, but so many other broad elements, so many other elements that are good a lot of the time are good against those damage types, those health types. So there isn't really a reason to be using Blast. Its status effect makes enemies miss you more often. I would argue that it's often better to reduce their damage rather than to make them miss you, and they're both terrible most of the time because enemies will just die to the damage you're doing. So they're both bad. But the problem with Blast is when you have dodge, it's like, but the one time you get hit, you'll just die if you don't have damage reduction. So you have to build as though that one time you're getting hit is every time you're getting hit. So wouldn't it have been better to just reduce the damage so you can see it happening? And there are lots of things that reward you for taking damage, so reducing the incoming damage. And to top it all off, you don't even need to build Puncture, it's just on the weapons. So, I don't know, Blast is in a bad place right now. Blast used to knock enemies down, and I kind of wish that was still the case. I feel like it was a problem sometimes, but it was good other times, and allowing enemy weapons to CC enemies was helpful from time to time. So, I don't know, I think Blast is really bad. I think it's worse than Magnetic, because there are like maybe times that you'd want to... The thing it does, it's good at. Warframe just doesn't reward weakening shields, but it is good at that thing. Whereas even we don't ever want the thing Blast does, and it's not even good at it. So I don't know. I think it's bad. That's why. Poor Blast. I feel bad. Blast the drink is... Oh, it's really no better. Don't worry. This is cayenne pepper and peppermint oil. Just together. And I know that you would like me to just drink this by itself, so I will. But I want you to know that I'm not happy about it, and then we're going to add the modifiers and see how it tastes, all right? It's moving so slowly. Ooh. 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 It's bad in a way I didn't expect. It tastes like drinking perfume. Oh, it's so bad. It burns, but my mouth is cold. No. Oh, no. All right, hold on. All right, okay. See? The modifiers can fix anything. I have just added impact, puncture, and slash to this disgusting concoction. Now let's try it again. Masterpiece. Absolute masterpiece. It is actually actively good. It's got that little bit of tingle, but it's melded with the ginger. There is still a burning feeling on my throat, but it is the good burn of delicious ginger. And then I notice, oh, it's got that fruity, fiery habanero thing. It's been transmuted into something pleasant, something that is an ally to my palate. While the mint keeps the whole experience refreshing, that little bit of salt to brighten things up makes ingredients taste even more like what they already taste like. And we've got the Angostura as a nice backbone to give the drink some character rather than just being a delicious, refreshing, but merely bracing, barbaric whack of refreshing flavor. No, nay, it has some complexity now. Ooh, that's good. In fact, I would say with the addition of all three of the impact, puncture, slash ingredients, I might even like that one the most. Oh, geez, is gas really the last one? The gas drink isn't. Oh, anyway, gas. It's specific. I think that gas is tricky because at the moment, gas doesn't do a lot of damage, but the way it does the damage is ludicrously powerful. So if you have something that does too much damage, you can just kind of always go gas and it will be preposterously overpowered because gas does damage in an area. So you get a multiplier. You add a whole multiplier to the game. When you do damage in an area, you're doing damage more for every other enemy that's in the area. They're all gassing each other. And then gas even lets that persist while the enemies die. The problem with something like electricity is it burns itself out. When it's working well, everything just dies and then there's no damage happening. New enemies pulled into that area temporarily don't take that much damage. Gas has no such difficulties. It just pulls enemies into a death cloud of lingering gas that's really powerful. When you have a weapon or an ability in Warframe that you can get to do gas damage, that just does like way too much damage, you can just go gas and it's super powerful. And I'm not sure that gas should get a bump up for that, but it's definitely in a different way from impact, right? So I'm going to put it here. I haven't moved anything yet. I guess I don't really want to. Yeah. I guess these are the more niche ones. Now looking at it, should we do this now? We'll do this now. Are the ones at the top kind of just better? And then the ones further down are kind of just worse. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Right. Cool. Okay, that's my list. Again, Void has no business being here. Let's not even... That's not... Nope. No, get out of it. No, go away. Ah! Get out of here. That's just as bad as the drink. The final drink. Surely you've figured it out by now. Gas is Toxin, which is brandy, and heat, which is cayenne. Why? I know it's going to be bad. Now, something I'm interested in with this one is it's been sitting like this for 3 hours while I prepped this video. But between the time that I dosed these guys out, so I could do the, making the drinks part more efficiently, and the time that I got to here, and I'm mostly done recording now. We did a good job, didn't we? This has been sitting for a while. I feel like that's long enough for it to have infused to some degree. Should we test if it is infused to some degree? Am I just trying to get out of drinking cayenne powder with brandy? The answer is yes. I just let it settle a little bit. Let's give it a try. Hopefully this won't be too much powder. Yeah, it has mostly settled. Can you see that? Not really, no. It's too red, but it has settled to the bottom. It sunk to the bottom. Oh, wow. Yeah, it did really infuse. Jeez. Ooh, oh boy. That's by far the hottest thing in this entire video. Ooh, oh no. Oh boy. Okay, oh. It's kind of nice. This makes me want to put actual habanero peppers in a savory spirit, like a brandy or something, and see how it is. I've made a habanero and a jalapeno infused tequila before. I really enjoyed both of those. They were just way too strong. But again, you can cut them with more of the spirit. I'm not going to do that here, but the flavor is really interesting. Like, it is savory in a positive way. It feels like this might be good as more like part of a meal, something you have with food, and also a lot of water as a way to cool off afterward. It's a little spicy, okay? Ethanol's ability to hold on to flavor is no joke. But yeah, I could see myself enjoying this if it was mellowed out a lot. I just feel like sipping this brandy neat would already be something I would enjoy. So why? Yeah, I don't think I want to add the modifiers to this one, but you well could. So we've done rather well. Here's the tier list. You got a bunch of different drinks to try with a lot of modifiers to enhance their flavor. I'm pretty satisfied. Wonder what you think. I wish that I could get... There it is. Goodbye, Void. You are not welcome here. Someone that is welcome here is Free William, a patron of mine who funded this video. We were talking about this topic, and they said, oh yeah, it sounds really fun. I'll help you make it. And I said, that's fantastic, absolutely. And it took me a while. It took me a minute. So thank you for your patience, Free William. And I really hope you enjoyed the final product. I had a lot of fun making it. And thank you also to all of my other patrons and YouTube members and Twitch subscribers, of which there are quite a few. This is the only way I'm able to do this while providing all these things for free. And you can just enjoy them. And I don't have to worry about getting a ton of views for a video. I can make something a little fun, a little silly. That comment will age very badly if this video gets a lot of views. I'll see y'all later. I have to go get some water. Thank you for watching.